There are three types of studies that we're going to consider here when we're gathering statistical data. We got a survey, an observational study, and an experiment. Now, in a survey, which is one of our studies, we've got a sample from the population, and we are monitoring their responses given regarding their opinions or their behaviors or characteristics. So in a survey, we've got a sample, and then we are measuring and gathering data on the responses that they give. Again, either characteristics, behavior, or opinions. And then there's an observational study. And again, we've got a sample, and the members of the sample are measured or they're being observed without being affected by the study. So one of the key components of a study being considered an observational study is we're just simply observing them. The sample itself is not being affected by the study. So let's say as an example, if we were to determine, we were gathering data on people that wear red shirts, we just observe what people are wearing, and given our sample, we'd have a sample, and then we'd measure the number of people that actually wore red shirts on a given day. That'd be an observational study. And then the third type of study is an experiment. And so an experiment, we divide the sample into two groups. We have an experimental group, and they experience a change. They undergo a change. And then there is the the control group. So we got an experimental group and a control group. And the control group does not undergo a change. And the effect that comes on the experimental group is compared to the control group. So again, we got three types of study: the survey, the observational study, and the experimental study, or the experiment. The survey, as an example, they're being asked questions, maybe on something on their opinion, and we're just gathering data on the opinions that are given. Observational study is just simply that. We're just observing. There's no effect being on the sample itself. And then the experiment, we've got two groups. We divide into two groups, one of which undergoes a change. That's the experimental group. And then there's a control group that does not experience a change. So let's look at a couple of examples of these. So let's see, we're asked to determine whether each situation describes a survey, an observational study, or an experiment. And let's see, here we go. Scientists study the behavior of two groups of rats to determine their reaction to sugar. Now, right there, when we see that we got two groups, that should be making us automatically think of an experiment. But let's dig a little bit deeper into here. So we got group one. These rats are fed food with sugar. And group two, the rats are fed food with no sugar. So we got two groups. One's with sugar, food with sugar, one food without sugar. And we're determining what type of situation this is, what type of study this is. Well, this is going to be an experiment because the rats are divided into two groups, one of which undergoes a change. And so the change being the sugar given in the food. Group one is a group of rats that are experiencing a change. Well, let's look at one more. So again, we're asked to determine whether each situation describes a survey, an observational study, or an experiment. Let's just see what our situation is. The city council wants to build a community recreational center. They call 1,000 random citizens asking if they would consider paying a fee if the center is built. Well, it's not an observational study, because we're not just simply observing. It's not an experiment. We don't have two groups. So it must be a survey. And again, we got a sample of 1,000 random citizens, And they're being asked a question: would they consider paying a fee if the center is built? So we're getting their opinion, or we're trying to measure their behavior, maybe based upon their opinion. And so again, this is a survey. The data is obtained from opinions given by the citizens that are called. So what type of studies do we have again? Number one, we've got a survey. Number two, we've got an observational study. And number three, we have an experiment.